Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1209B, and today's date is February 20th, 2017, and the title of the episode is White House Leakers and Soft Coup Agenda in the Process of Being Exposed. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, with everything that was going on with the travel ban with Trump, it looks like Trump and his staff decided that they were going to create a whole new travel type of ban. And Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly, well, he previewed what it would look like when he told a Munich security conference gathering that the travel ban will no longer stop green card holders or travelers already on planes from entering the United States in hopes of avoiding another round of legal challenges. But those countries so far are in there that, yes, they will be banned, and it's not just Muslims, it's everyone in these areas. And we can see that it really doesn't matter because the deep state, the central bankers, the establishment, those in power, they're going to protest it no matter what. Now, Trump has been leaking information out of the White House, and he was doing this on purpose. The drafts that were being leaked out, certain information that was being leaked out, it was all being done on purpose. He wanted to flush out the leakers and expose them. Just like he's going to expose the central bankers, the corporate media, of how the economy is really doing. And he already set that in motion. Coming out of Got News, we see that the White House Deputy Chief of Staff and hashtag Never Trump Republican Katie Walsh has been identified as the source behind a bunch of leaks from the Trump administration to the New York Times and other media outlets. Now, this is according to multiple sources in the White House. And we can see right now that everyone knows not to talk to her in the White House unless you want to see it in the press. And the only question is whether or not she's doing it at the behest of the White House Chief of Staff Priebus, or if she's doing it to advance herself in the DC media circles. And Walsh is referred to as Madame President in the White House, says a senior aide, and it isn't a compliment. And we can see right now that Trump, at this point, is deliberately feeding her fake information and actually feeding others fake information. And by doing this, he knows exactly where the leaks originate, and he knows exactly who the individuals are. And this is an ongoing thing right now. Now, Paul Craig Roberts is out there, and he's explaining the stakes for Trump and all of us. And we have to understand, the war on terror, we know, was a complete hoax. That was to transform the intelligence agencies such as the NSA, CIA, FBI into the Gestapo secret police agency. And to push war out into these regions, to go into these countries, have regime change, to keep the petrodollar, the dollar, within these countries where they use it on their oil sales. And Trump right now is threatened by these agencies because he rejects the neoconservative agenda that supports the military-industrial complex and the military security annual budget. Now, Glenn Greenwald is out there saying that Trump's policies of reducing tensions between Russia conflicts with this military security complex. And at this point, Trump has no alternative but to fight, because they're going to either take him down or he's going to have to figure out a way to take them down. And this is where we are at this point, where we have this war between the administration and these agencies that have been in power for a very long time. And things are going to get worse way before they get better, because we can see at this point that Obama, he is behind this soft coup. And this soft coup is underway. And Obama is tied to activist group training tens of thousands of agitators to protest Trump's policies. And we can see that they're out there every so often, pushing their agenda. And he put out a manual, published with the OFA partner, Indivisible, advisors protesters to go into halls quietly, so as not to raise alarms. Grab seats at the front of the room, but do not all sit together. Spread out in the audience so it looks like everyone is against Trump. This will help reinforce the impression of broad consensus. And they've created this manual that tells these individuals on how to do all of this. A script advises callers to complain. I'm honestly scared that a known racist and an anti-Semite will be working just feet from the Oval Office. It is everyone's business if a man who promoted white supremacy is serving as an advisor to the president. This is for Bannon. Progressive groups are circulating information about town hall meetings on moveon.org. And this is Soros's, one of his funded groups. And Obama is behind this civil unrest because he's taken to Twitter. And he states boldly to believe in that the people can bring about change through their own action. He's implying to rise up and create civil unrest on a massive scale. And this goes along with the ex-CIA operative who's Robert Steele, who says come May 1st, and we'll have to see if this actually happens, they're planning on tens of millions of people, paid agitators, to go out onto the street and to have civil unrest, to create a civil war. Now again, do we know this is going to happen? No. This is a warning, saying this is what they're trying to do. But when we look at the central banks, the deep state, the elite, we can see with the corporate media, they are pushing their agenda as hard as they possibly can. They do not want someone they can't control in the White House. That's completely obvious. And we see already that they're out there trying to push and invoke the 25th Amendment. And they're saying, unless Trump gets a grip, well, we might have to invoke the 25th Amendment. And we can see that there's many Republicans, Democrats, all saying the same thing. Now, they're talking about Article 4 to the 25th Amendment. And in the abstract, the amendment itself is about presidential succession and includes language about the power of the office when a president is incapacitated. And what they're talking about is a specific text that they're referring to is whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. So what does all this mean exactly? Well, it means Congress isn't the only institution that can remove a president from office between elections. Under the 25th Amendment, a sitting vice president and a majority of the executive branch's cabinet could on their own agree to transfer power out of the hands of the sitting president and to the vice president. Now, if Trump decides to argue this and, object to all of this, well, then it would go to Congress and they would vote on it. Now, we can see right now that they're trying to make it seem like the president, well, he doesn't have all his faculties. He's losing his grip. He is losing it. And he might not be mentally stable. So this is why they might have to invoke the 25th Amendment. So what we're seeing right now, in other words, is for the first time, the concept of soft palace coup has been officially brought up on the public media. Now remember, the deep state, the central bankers, they are bringing this all out into the open to get the people riled up. They are showing everyone that, listen, doesn't matter what the elections call for, doesn't matter that he won the elections, we will make the final decision. And we're going to show you how we're going to do it. Now, if we can't get him out of office this way, guess what? We'll take it to the next level. We'll have him removed by killing him. Now, of course, they're not out there saying that, but we can see what they tried to do with Andrew Jackson. They did it with Lincoln. They did it with John F. Kennedy. They will try to assassinate. Now, Andrew Jackson, they attempted to assassinate him, but he survived and he got rid of the central bank. John F. Kennedy, not so lucky. But we can see right now that if they can't get their way, remember all the things they've tried up to this point, before he was even put into the White House, the recount, going with the cyber attacks with Russia and Trump, they're working together. He's Putin's plaything. Let's have the Electoral College review the CIA information, the dossier that they put out there. All this information has been pushed to get him out of office or to make it so he can't get into office. Now we're on the back end. He's in office and he has the ability to break this wide open. And they're trying to stop him at this point. And this is going to be a battle, and it's going to get worse as we move throughout this year. Now we can see that the central bankers, the elite, the deep state, they're using the same exact model, not just here in the United States, but throughout all the private Western central bank countries. If we notice out in France, we know their elections are coming up, and we can see already they're out there saying that Russia might be meddling with their elections. And if we do find this out, we might have to cancel or postpone it. What they're really saying is if the candidate that the central bankers, the elite, want into power and they're not winning, well, they'll blame it on Russia and they'll stop the elections. This is what they had planned here in the United States. We see out in Germany, Merkel is doing the same exact thing. And she says, listen, Russia is putting out fake news in social media and other media outlets, and they've been tampering with the elections. Well, this turns out to be completely fake, phony, and false. German intelligence cleared Moscow of a suspected subversion of German democracy, and the corporate media just overlooked this completely. Ex-CIA analyst Ray McGovern says, yes, after a multi-month politically charged investigation, German intelligence agencies could find no evidence of Moscow-directed cyber attacks or a disinformation campaign aimed at subverting the democratic process in Germany. Now, Merkel has commissioned a new investigation because she didn't like how this one turned out, because it didn't go along with her agenda. Her agenda is to show that Russia is meddling, because if the election is close or she's losing, they're going to have to postpone it. And we can see right now the two intelligence agencies, BND and BFV, the counterparts of the CIA and FBI, they launched the joint investigation to substantiate allegations that Russia was meddling in Germany's political affairs. And they found absolutely nothing. And we can see that the MO of the central bankers, of the elite, are exactly the same in every single country. Those people who do not want to lose their power, they're doing the same thing. It's like it's scripted or something. Now, which nations do you think Americans see as their greatest enemy? Now, everyone probably thinks it's Russia because that's what the corporate media has been pushing out there. But what we see, it's not Russia. It's actually North Korea. And from the poll, which was created by YouGov, shows that 57% of American adults considered North Korea one of their greatest enemies, followed by Iran with 41%, Syria 32%, Iraq 29%, Afghanistan 23%, and then we have Russia at 22%. And you can see why they're pushing their agenda with North Korea right now, and pushing it hard because they're looking at the situation saying, okay, we can get something going here. Remember, they have not stopped pushing their agenda. They are trying to create some type of war because their system is falling apart and coming down. Now, we know there was an assassination attempt on Kim Jong-un's half-brother. Now, very interestingly, there's a videotape that was released showing how this was done, where there was the two women, where they went up and they put some type of towel or something around him, they breathed in, and all of a sudden, this individual fell ill, and he was rushed to the hospital, and then he died. Now, North Korea is out there saying that the person that died, well, that wasn't Kim Jong-un's half-brother. They're saying that the embassy has identified this individual who passed away as Kim Chol, DPRK citizen, because they have his passport. That is the person that actually died. Now, we could see right now, we have the Malaysian police saying that it was his half-brother. We have North Korea now saying, well, you got it wrong. It isn't Kim Jong-un's half-brother. Now, we can see that there could have been wet work going on here, and we can see there could have been a false flag going on here, trying to push North Korea into doing something. And we can see right now that this would make people worry because they would blame this on North Korea. Kim Jong-un killed his half-brother. He's unstable. Now he has nuclear weapons. He might just go off and blast them off and, start a war. You can see where this was going and what they were trying to do. They're building a story right now. How the leader of North Korea is completely unstable. And if he's this unstable to kill his brother in an airport, what is he going to do with nuclear weapons? Now we can see China, they are separating themselves from North Korea. Because China right now suspended all imports of coal from North Korea as part of its efforts to implement the United Nations Security Council's sanctions after they came out after North Korea tested their other nuclear weapon. And right now, the coal sales accounted for more than 50% of North Korea's exports to China. So this is going to have a huge impact on the economy of North Korea. But at the same time, China's saying, okay, we need to separate ourselves from North Korea. We're not helping them. We're not a part of this. And if a war breaks out, we're stepping back. Russia actually did the same thing with North Korea because Putin understands that if a war is started, they're going to try to pull Russia, China into this. And if they start it with North Korea, this is exactly what they're going to do. Now, we can see right now the United States government central bankers, they are pushing their agenda in the South China Sea. Even though we know that China said, these are our islands because of the Cairo Declaration. The United States helped us after World War II. It doesn't really matter because the United States government central bankers, those neocons, the elite, the central bankers, they are pushing and provoking China right now. They sent the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson, together with the aircraft from the Carrier Air Wing and the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS Wayne E. Meyer, to the South China Sea to start sailing in this area. And this is all being done to provoke China in this area. This is why this is being done. They want all these countries in the fold. They want to start a war. Now, Kiev is very angry at Putin right now because Putin decided to recognize the people of Donbass and their IDs because Kiev has been stalling and they've made it impossible for individuals to move in and out of Russia. So right now, Putin is saying because of humanitarian purposes and because Kiev is not following the Minsk agreement whatsoever, that he's going to honor their IDs from this area. Now, it doesn't mean that Putin is recognizing the LPR, the DPR area as being independent part of Russia or anything like that. He's out there just making it easier for individuals to move in and out because Kiev has been stalling on this and basically no one has been moving in either direction. Now, we see Russian ambassador to the UN, Vitaly Churkin. He died suddenly in New York from a heart attack right before his 65th birthday. And we see at this point that was this a message from the United States? Now, he did have heart problems. And we can see right now that we don't know the real reason of why he actually passed away. Now, people are saying it is a heart attack. But again, we don't know the real reason. We see the establishment, the central bankers, the deep state, they are pushing Trump into following Obama's foreign policy. And they're trying to push him in a certain direction. Now, remember, just because Trump appointed certain individuals in his administration, and he has certain individuals in his administration, doesn't mean they're all working for him. They are part of a bigger system, and many of these individuals are working with the elite, the central bankers, where they're going to follow the foreign policy. They're going to follow the agenda of these individuals. And this is why Paul Craig Roberts is out there saying he needs to look inside and look at these individuals and fight back. Because remember, these agencies, their entire agenda right now is to regain control, start a war, collapse the economy, and they would like to do this without Trump. And this is why they're pushing this so hard. Now, we know that many of the countries under the private Western Central Bank umbrella, they've been using Russian aggression. They've been using that Russia has been cyber attacking. We see Ukraine right now just says, yes, Russia was the one who cyber attacked their infrastructure. We had Poland out there saying that it was Russia who used a malware on the Polish banking system. Very interestingly is that the malware samples used in the recent attack against the Polish banks contained planted evidence that attempted to blame the attack on Russia. So they planted evidence in the malware. Now, what was the evidence? Well, in a report published this morning, the researchers revealed that the malware used in those attacks contained a lot of mangled Russian words that no native speaker would ever use. They investigated it, they looked, and they said what they did was they translated English words into Russian words. Then they copy and pasted the phonetic spelling from the Google translator. What they're saying is that a real Russian person who speaks Russian would never type out the phonetic spelling of these words. And this is all throughout the malware, inside the coding. And they're saying this was no way from Russia. This was implanted inside the malware to pin it on Russia. So all these stories that we hear that Russia is using malware, they're cyber attacking, it's Russian aggression, we can see that their stories are completely falling apart. Now, of course, the corporate media is not picking this up and running with it because this wouldn't go along with their agenda. The central banks, the elite, has nothing to do with their agenda. Their agenda is to show that Russia is the enemy, North Korea is the enemy, China is the enemy, Iran is the enemy, Syria is the enemy. So this doesn't fall into their agenda whatsoever. But what we do understand and what we do see is that they're not going to stop. As we approach May, as we move into the summer, we're going to see these elite, the central bankers, up the ante. And they're going to push a civil war if they can. They want to keep the American people divided. This is how they work. A divided country makes it easier for them to take control, to start an uprising. We as a people, as Americans, we need to come together. Doesn't matter who's president, because we know the president doesn't run the country. We know those hiding behind the curtain, the central bank, the elite, they're running the country. We as an American people need to come together and fight that group. That's the group we should be pointing our fingers at. And we all need to do this together, because if we don't, we will see civil war in this country. They will break this country apart. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.